I always say play above field, which is the white hat techniques, which is always listening to your customers. And Google will figure it out. Because if you're doing good for your customers and you're delivering on answering every single problem that they have and putting it on your website and hopefully bringing value to them because they're absorbing content and staying on your site longer and clicking on writing good reviews for your business, then you're offering something of value for other users. And the more you're doing that, the more you're offering good content, offering value to your customers, and you're satisfying everything a good, solid bricks and mortar traditional business did, which was took care of the customers, relied on referral and word of mouth, like all the foundational stuff, and now you transition to now digital, you're going to be in good hands because Google will recognize that you're not trying to hack the system.
This is the Play Your Position podcast, where we huddle up, call the plays, and inspire you to run your ball into the end zone. Are you ready to score more game-winning touchdowns in your life, business, and career? Then listen up, because it's game time, baby. Now, here's your host, Mary Lou Kaiser.
Hey everyone, Mary Lou Kaiser here. Welcome to another episode of the Play Your Position podcast. Today is game day, which means I have an awesome guest who is here to share his insights, his wisdom, his leadership journey with us. His name is John Vuong. John, are you ready for kickoff?
Yes, I am. Thank you for having me, Mary Lou.
Yes, I am so glad you're here because we're going to be talking about some topics that a lot of people are, I think, interested in, but feel on the outside of. So team, before we get started, here is what I know about John. He is the owner and founder of Local SEO Search. He helps small and medium-sized businesses rank on Google and dominate their local market. John puts a strong emphasis on relationships and treats his clients like family, wanting to not only help them rank, but also to help their business grow and succeed. And I believe, John, that you're in Toronto?
Yes, that's correct.
Awesome. So I love having international guests and our neighbors to the north, Canada. Glad to have you here. Right out of the gate, John, would you please share with us your call to leadership, the story behind when you received the call to do the work you're doing today and play your current position?
Yeah, definitely. So 8 years ago, that's when I started this journey of entrepreneurship. I'm the founder of a company called Local SEO Search. But prior to that, I was actually working in advertising sales for 10 years. And at that time, it was really just to understand how to sell and make a living, right? And over the years, I really progressed and learned what my calling was. I worked in traditional advertising as well as online affiliate advertising sales. And then I resided at a company I'm sure a lot of listeners probably heard of, Yellow Pages. And I was there for 5 years. And I really found that a lot of the businesses that I was able to work with, which were thousands of them, understood how to really take care of their customers. They understood the foundation of what it meant to be a good business owner, but really understanding how community was first, understanding what value they brought to the table, understanding unique selling proposition, pricing, service, competition. There's a lot of other core foundation of running a good business. And during my tenure, I just knew that those business owners were like me. I basically was determined to help others, right? And during the end of my tenure there, it was really frustrating for me to see that I was working at a company that customers, business owners were frustrated because their return on investment was not as good as it once was. People were changing their behaviors in terms of how they were seeking out their product and service, and they were not consuming the product anymore of Yellow Pages directory. And so the shift was happening. And that's where I wanted to really just help them, help these business owners transition their business to more of a digital presence. And I started this agency not knowing anything about SEO. Actually, I didn't come from an SEO technical background. I came from a servant background where I wanted to help these business owners. And I knew there was a gap in the marketplace where they just wanted someone they can trust to transition and help them, guide them to this new digital landscape. And that's what my goal has been, my mission, and really that's my story.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm curious, John, do you have a sense or maybe even just have in your mind, where are we in terms of businesses now fully transitioned to the digital space? Because here we are in 2021. If you started your agency 8 years ago, you were 2012, 2013 timeframe. And, I think about that time and how far we've come since then. What percentage of businesses have yet to make the full transformation into the digital space? Do you know?
I feel that during this pandemic, people that haven't are probably looking to exit or they're not looking to survive, right? Not going to be around. So in this new COVID environment, we need to all understand that your strongest asset piece of your business today, because there's so many different factors when it comes to multiple touch points. And it used to be storefront, signage, telephone number, and maybe fax machine. But today it's email, website, social channels, and a lot of these other tech apps and all this other stuff. Telephone numbers are very important still. And these are all channels. So I feel probably 80-90% of the business owners are now digitalized and they probably have some sort of presence. It might not be owning their own website. They might just work off an Instagram page or an Amazon listing page or a Facebook business page, Google My Business page. They might not have a website of their asset, but they are digitalized.
Okay. So thank you for that. So why SEO? Why did you pick that of all the things? Because the digital transformation space, there are a lot of directions you could have gone. So what was it about SEO that attracted you to build your agency around helping people with that?
So for me, it was more about alignment with what Yellow Pages provided. I understood that Yellow Pages was more inbound lead generation of ready-to-buy customers seeking out a product or service like myself 10, 20 years ago when I picked up that phone book, when I was looking to go to a restaurant or I needed to get a plumber in. I was seeking out someone immediately, and all I wanted to do was call 1 or 2 or 3 people to get it served. The action. You fast forward 10 years ago or 8 years ago when I started, it was really about the same, but digitalized. Where would I go where when I'm ready to buy, how would I consume that business? So if you look at, there's a lot of different spaces. There's Google AdWords, there's social media platforms, there's apps. But when I'm ready to buy, I want a complete database of every single business out there for the keyword or service or product that I'm seeking out. And the one place that I knew was Google. Yes, there's Yahoo, there's Bing, there's Ask, whatever. There's so many different search engines, but my focus was play where everyone is using and being a part of, right? And if you play in that space where a lot of people are consuming information and you have a huge volume of people, then you have a good market share. And yes, it's probably the most challenging space to be in, but if you're able to cultivate and just get a sliver of a market share, then you have a business. And
I like that.
And I don't need to be a dominant player. I just wanted to help my tribe of people, which were seeking out help. And if you're a servant to others and you're adding value and you're making it easy for them to transition, then you have a business because people are paying you for a service that they don't want to do themselves.
Right. I just realized that probably we should have said SEO stands for search engine optimization for listeners. If that is a term you haven't heard, I think I was assuming that Team PYP is pretty savvy and would know what that is. But you're using all these terms that are so much a part of our lives now when we do want to find help or we want to find a restaurant or we want to find a good masseuse in our area, what do? We go to a search engine. We go to the Safari on our iPhones. If that's what you use, you go to Google, you go to Bing. You mentioned some of the others. And Google is definitely the big player. So what is the hardest thing for business owners that you work with, John, in entering this new world? Like, what do you find them saying to you over and over and over again about what challenges them? Is it actually being found? Is it the ROI formula that you mentioned, that the Yellow Pages became a dying format, if you would? Now we just all have an electronic database called the internet, right? So what's hard for business leaders?
Yeah, I always would say this whole industry, search engine optimization, has been commercialized. The barriers to entry seems very low, where people can claim and guarantee a lot of things, not knowing what they're actually doing. So there's a lot of misconceptions, and a lot of people have been burnt because they don't really understand what's involved and what needs to be done to actually do good work, to portray your business. Because this is, if you think about running a business, putting your hard-earned years in trades, right? Like whatever it is you've been doing for 5, 10, 20 years, and sweat equity, hours in, you put your heart and soul in this business, and now you don't really know anything about this digital space. So you're going to throw money at certain things and you're going to expect good returns, but you don't even know what they're doing. So
yes.
There's this huge cloud along the way because technology-wise, the last 10 years, the rampant speed of technology has advanced so quickly. And if you're not at the pulse, if you're not at the forefront of what's going on, you're going to be missing it. And these business owners are great business people. When it comes to digital, they feel SEO is like Facebook, Instagram. They feel email is like, search engines. They don't know what they don't know.
Sure.
And that's the biggest challenge I have, informing them, educating them so that they feel comfortable. But the challenge is there's a lot of terminology, there's a lot of nuances, and it's not for everyone. Like when you talk to people about backlinks and trust flow and schema markup and sitemap, all these things are new terminology for business owners that don't even have a tech background. And so the language, people are so used to trade shows, magazines, radio, television, print ads and Yellow Pages, right? Now it becomes social media, performance-based marketing, email funnels, YouTube video amplification, all these new terminology. And then SEO has another subset layer of terminology around it. So that scares people.
Yeah, language, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, the vocabulary. I have found myself, because I've been online for 15 years and lots of people, and we learn this new vocabulary as we go. And if you're talking to a small business owner like you do regularly, or a medium-sized business team, it's like you're speaking a foreign language. They don't understand what these, I don't understand some of the terms that you just said, even though I've been in this space. So I think the power in what you're doing can be summed up in the word you just used, which is educate, that you're willing to take the time to teach your clients what's happening instead of keeping it a mystery, which I know is a tactic some less than stellar people in the space of SEO have used, because it was low-hanging fruit. You're dealing with a huge amount of people that know they need to get online. And so somebody comes along and says, hey, I can help you do that. And, oh, by the way, you don't need to understand what I'm saying, but I'll take your money. And I know people who've been burned. I was burned with a website back in 2012. I was working with a couple of women, and one of them found a guy who said, oh, yeah, I can build your website. And we paid up front, and then he disappeared. Do you see that, or have you seen that kind of thing? And how does that play into how you show up to serve your clients?
Exactly. I think you nailed it, right? It's all about that trust factor and building a solid foundation of respect in the industry and people that know that you're in it for the right reasons. Alignment with everyone's core foundation of values, right? Like you want to treat others well. You want respect. You want trust. You want someone to hold themselves accountable to their standards. You want, just everything in terms of value prop of business, in life, in your client relationship, your staff relationship. You need to really stand and be authentic, be yourself, but be core. Like that's one of my solid foundations of this business, right? Like just being raw, tell people how it is. And they're either, liking you or not. It's okay, right? I'm not for everyone. I'm for people that understand what I can bring to the table for their business. If they understand that there's a need, that they have a gap for their business, they don't understand it, they don't know how to do it, they don't know who to go to, then I can step up and help them. But if they are not clear on what their vision is, what their clarity of their business value proposition is and how to run a business, like that's not my job. My job is to help good businesses become great online.
Oh, I love that. I love that. That's great. Well, we're at the part of the show, John, I call Move the Chains. So for football fans, we know that the majority of the game is spent moving those chains up and down the playing field as each team tries to score the most points. So I would love for you to tell us about a time when you found yourself playing out of position, when things did not go according to your game plan, such as being metaphorically sacked, intercepted, or you fumbled the ball. What caused this to happen, and what was the lesson that you learned from that experience?
So this happens as a founder, owner, business owner on a daily basis. And yes, some of them are very magnified and you feel like you want to quit. You feel like you want to get back into just a normal 9-to-5 job, right? The challenge is if you have the grit and determination to persevere, then you want to actually achieve and bring something out of it. Give value to your ideal customers and tribe of staff because you have a lot of accountability. So early days, again, I didn't know SEO. I didn't know what was involved. I hired people, but I didn't hire right. I didn't hire people of my sort of values, right? So they were not doing the things that I would ethically wanting them to do. So I had to let them go and fire. And I had a lot of churn early. The one thing I really wanted to do was cultivate a good foundation of staff that really took care of my clients, right? Because my job was to, motivate, inspire, and help them be the best version of themselves with skill set and personality. Once you have a good foundation, all your clients will feel it, see it, and breathe it, right? So when I started hiring based on personality and my values, then the company started solidifying and getting better. And we started getting a lot more processes in place. We started doing more speaking. We started doing more things that were more positive in nature. And it took time, right? Like any business, you just have to figure out what fits your business lifestyle, right? Like I was a sales rep for many, many years. I had to pivot to become more of a leader. And that was a big challenge, right? And I didn't have any technical skills. I do now. I had to learn, right? And these are skill sets that are learnable. These are things that if you put your time and effort and just devotion to really want to learn, you can absorb it and do something with it, right? So it's all about that growth mindset. Every day, every week, month, I'm trying to get better. Connect with good people, connect with great mentors, coaches, community leaders, just help others and hopefully everyone gets stronger.
It's halftime here at the Play Your Position podcast, and we've got ourselves a great game. While you're up grabbing another snack and topping off your favorite beverage, make sure to subscribe to the show so you never miss another play. PYP is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever great podcasts can be found. Now, let's get back to the game. I
love your attitude. And that's a really good lesson for anybody who's either considering starting a business or has already started a business, the values alignment with your people is so important. And boy, I've talked to so many people on this show who have experienced exactly what you did, where they hired incorrectly early on. And it was really out of ignorance, right? Which isn't a bad thing. You just don't know what you don't know. So thank you for sharing that story, because it's good to hear that A, it's not, the end of the world, and B, you can recover. You adopted the right mindset, and it sounds like you're really committed to your own personal development, John, which is pretty cool. Is there a specific book that you turn to often, or somebody who influences you to continue to get better?
Yeah. So over the course of, say, 20 years, I've been an avid reader. I've been going to a lot of workshops, conferences, and whatnot. Right now, I'm just reading a book called Grit. I'm a big Adam Grant give and take kind of guy. I love, Work-Life Principles by Ray Dalio. Like, I have a bunch of books, right?
Yeah.
How to influence people and friends. Like, all these things are important in terms of foundation. And early days, I was reading a lot of sales books from Zig Ziglar's.
Oh, yeah.
Jack Canfield. All these people that were Tony Robbins, and all these people inspiring me, right? And then it got me to now leadership mindset, more about like work-life balance and more about like wealth preservation. And it all depends on where you're at in your life. And these are things you need to really understand. There's people that have gone through different situations, and it's perspective of every aspect. If you're out there trying to absorb good content, great people, connecting, then you're going to surround yourself with great people. You know what to expect, how to absorb it, and how to really take it on for yourself to grow.
Yes. Oh, fabulous list of books. And I think the bigger point is that we are always learning and growing, and find those people who are just enough ahead of you that you want to get to where they are, and then absorb everything they say. That's the mark of a leader, I think. It's one of the characteristics, is always be willing to learn, which you clearly do.
And what the funny thing is, I was not the healthiest of people. Like, as a business owner, that's one thing that I was always on the go. I was eating when I could. And by the time I kind of started taking care of myself, I was, a lot heavier. I was probably 40, 50 pounds heavier. I was tired. I was not energetic. My mindset was I was taking naps here and there. So I started reading like 30, 40 books on just every diet out there, intermittent fasting, biohacking. I joined the communities, and I was like, look, I just started making little tweaks to my life with now eating grass-fed everything, eat wild foods, everything to really just get better. And now I have clarity. I have way better energy. I enjoy every food out there because it's colorful, right? I know what's good and healthy. And now that I have a family, it's more about like ingraining these habits to share amongst my family, right? So I'm just happy to at least have knowledge and insight on being able to absorb and have the, just desire to learn.
Very good. Very good. Well, the world is constantly changing, John. We're talking about change. When you look into your crystal ball, what do you predict will have the greatest impact on how businesses are going to continue to do business online over the next 5 years? Where do you see SEO headed?
I think it's still a very important aspect in terms of foundation. If you look at having a telephone number for your business, a website is stronger in terms of what is available for your business. Like, that asset of the website is like an online brochure that's working 24/7 for you. And you can update it. You have control over it. So understanding your website as your biggest asset piece, and then utilizing it to become a inbound lead generation for your business, because everything that points to that website, from social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all these podcasts should be redirecting to your website. And the more influence you become in that asset piece of your website, then it gets amplified, right? And magnified. So you're going to know that you're doing something right by keeping consistent messaging. You're offering up a value. You're answering the problems that people may have. You're serving others. So that website is still going to be foundational. I don't think it's going anywhere because Google seems to be the main search engine here in North America anyways. And for me, SEO is still going to be around because it's trying to offer up the best results for the users. And if you understand the concept of the matching of what Google has done for websites and users, then you understand that the premise is to always have people return to Google. Because if you as a customer is not satisfied with the results that's coming out, then you're not going to continue coming back to Google. So you need to understand the whole concept of how Google operates and their purpose, and for you to then utilize your website to match the purpose and intent of what Google is trying to do.
And Google wants, I remember I wrote about this. It unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to look at it, we won't put a judgment on it. It's more about Google is the vehicle with which we all move our businesses forward, because there are smaller ones out there, like you mentioned earlier in our conversation, but Google's the biggie. Now, I also understand that, YouTube is a search engine, Amazon is a search engine. And so there are those. But when it comes to everyday search, people are going to Google. And if you, as a business owner, it's not pleasing Google as much as it is working with Google to deliver high value. That's what I'm reading between the lines here. What you're saying is that Google has developed or is continuing to develop sophisticated technology that will deliver results for people that are quality versus the hacks. Is that what I'm hearing?
I always say play above field, which is the white hat techniques, which is always listening to your customers, and Google will figure it out. Because if you're doing good for your customers and you're delivering on answering every single problem that they have and putting it on your website and hopefully bringing value to them because they're absorbing content and staying on your site longer and clicking on writing good reviews for your business, then you're offering something of value for other users. And the more you're doing that, the more you're offering good content, offering value to your customers, and you're satisfying everything a good, solid bricks and mortar traditional business did, which was took care of the customers, relied on referral and word of mouth, like all the foundational stuff. And now you transition to now digital. You're going to be in good hands because Google will recognize that you're not trying to hack the system.
Right. They don't like that.
Exactly.
Yeah. They don't like that. Oh my gosh, John, that's so fascinating. Thank you for bringing us inside a little bit to the world of Google, because again, I know most people have no idea and many people don't want to know. They really don't care. They're just like, make it work for me. As long as it works, I'm good.
Yeah. And I think I come from a different perspective because I'm more of a sales rep, but I come from the business mind. A lot of SEOers in the space are more technical. And so they use a lot of the technical jargon and language that normal people would have no idea what they're talking about. And how do they present it is very different as well.
Yes.
I try to use real life examples. And that's what resonates with a lot of business owners.
Yeah. Well, you do a good job of that. You really do. And another thing that every guest here at PYP does a good job of is getting the ball into the end zone. So we're at the part of the show I call Touchdown John, which means I am putting you in the red zone with less than 30 seconds left on the clock. You are down by 4 points. It's third down and it's now or never. Tell us a story about a time when you metaphorically ran the ball into the end zone for that game-winning touchdown.
Yeah. So for me, it's all about just being action taker, right? Like just a client of mine, they didn't know who to go to. So for me, it was more about like being there, being present, and just being able to fulfill their needs, right? a lot of clients reach out to me, but I wanted to serve this one client because during this pandemic, they were suffering, caterer, right? So for me, I just wanted to help them, not just, be there, but help them survive. And this was like here, Toronto caterer. They've been having trouble for many, many years. And I just wanted to step up and I wanted to over deliver. And I knew how hard it was for this industry, right? So I actually doubled down with them. I basically said, look, I'm going to eat a lot of the cost, but it's okay because I want to help you. And that actually means a lot more to me to really help others than just earn, some profit for a short period of time.
Right. Yeah, I can tell that you really are a servant leader and you like people and you want people to succeed. And I think it's interesting that that's how you showed up to the business that you're in versus coming to it from a technical background. Like you were just saying, that many people who are in the SEO space have a technical background and maybe haven't developed the people skills or the leadership skills that are required to run a successful company. And I've come across people like that. They are amazing at the tech side, but when it comes to delegation or understanding the big vision of a company and where you want to take it, not so much. So in some ways, it's actually to your customers' benefit that you are the way you are. I'm of the mind you can always learn the tech. It's much harder to learn the people skills. It's just harder.
Yeah, definitely. I found that out the first hand as well. Like I've run across a lot of SEOers. I can't have a normal conversation with them.
I
because they're using these languages like, did you read that blog? Because I don't want to talk to you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, but we're here. Do you want to explain to me what that blog was about? No.
Right. No, just go read it. Right. No. I know. Conversation, the art of conversation is, we need help with that as a collective. It's, we're losing it. People are like, just let me text.
Oh yeah.
Right. Let me send an emoji.
They're chatting and they're texting SMS and tweeting. I'm the old school phone call, get right. Let's have a coffee date or, meet in person, right? Because you get a lot more accomplished when you talk to a real person.
I agree. Now, technology or the pandemic obviously has changed the ability for us to meet face to face, although things are starting to open up now. However, Zoom calls like what we're on today are about the best next thing, right? Because you can gather a group of people, you can see each other's faces, and you can actually have a conversation. So there is that. As we round things out today, John, meeting face-to-face is a great strategy. What are a couple of other key offensive strategies straight out of your leadership playbook that listeners could use right away to see some forward progress in their work or their life? What could you suggest?
I do a lot of different things depending on if you run a business, if you're in work mode, like you work at 9-to-5 job, if you have a family, right? I would say just showing up, growing, changing your mindset on, status quo, having that growth mindset of always trying to do more, pushing yourself. And yeah, showing up is, of course, the most important thing. And it derives of 80% of your life, right? If you don't show up, you don't even know if that's something that it's something you want to do, right? And it's okay if you make mistakes. That's how you learn, how you evolve as a human, right? The more mistakes you make, the more you're going to learn. And the more people you're in front of, like talking and getting to know, the more well-rounded you're going to be as well. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of failure, right? Always trying to progress, always giving it all, taking action, embracing all the challenges, having fun along the way, and being yourself. I think that's the big thing. A lot of people are hiding behind the curtain and they're trying to be someone they truly aren't, right? It's when you feel like you're free and you're enjoying every moment, people will see it right away that you're having fun. And they're either going to gravitate towards you or not, but at least you have nothing to hide. That's what I'm all about now, with more energy, with more clarity, with the mindset fully engulfed. And enjoying every minute of every day, like just surrounding with good people, staff, clients, people, relationships, just having fun. That's what life is about.
It is. And I'm glad you worked fun into it. And also being yourself. That's the tagline to this show is show up, be yourself, and you win. You know, it's not about competing with anybody else. It's about creating a life that matters most to you. And when you do that, you also used a word I love, which is freedom. There's a freedom to owning your life, your vision, what you do, and who you are. And I'm also amazed at, I do run into people who are doing exactly what you said. They're hiding, they're misaligned, they're trying to be something they're not. And I just think, why? It's so hard. Life's already, yeah.
And I think I forgot to mention, like, perspective is everything, and stop comparing to others, because everyone goes through their own journey in life, and different people will go through different life stages. And yes, everyone thinks they live a horrible life, or they're going through some challenges that no one can ever even want to endure and understand, right? And that's okay too. Like, that's their problem. Just deal with yours. Control it, be in control, have fun, and just like, it's like you're in control of your ship. Take it somewhere, move it ahead. Don't go backwards, right? And don't digress, don't be frustrated, don't, it's hard, right? A lot of people are still stuck.
Yeah, they are. Well, there's people like you in the world that can help them get unstuck, especially when it comes to their SEO approaches and also just their business mindset. So for listeners who'd like to connect with you, John, online, where do you hang out?
So you can check out my website. It's localseosearch.ca, so based in Toronto, Canada. But in terms of where I typically connect with people, it's typically on LinkedIn. You can find me, John Vuong. I'm the founder of Local SEO Search. And we also have a podcast, and it's really just having fun as well. It's me and my VP of sales really sharing business insights, because he was at Yellow Pages for over 30 years. And
wow.
So for us, we combined to work with over 10,000 local businesses. And that business experience supersedes every single blog, video, podcast that people talk about. We have real life business experience that we share.
That's awesome. So team, you know the links to connect with John. Check out his website, his podcast, and connect with him on LinkedIn. Will be on his show notes page at pyppodcast.com. And this has been a lot of fun, John. Before we say goodbye, I know in the pre-chat you were saying you don't watch a lot of football, but when you do, is there a team that you prefer to cheer for over the others?
To be honest, I don't have a team. Maybe Buffalo Bills, just because they're closer to Toronto.
Right.
And I've been to a Bills game before. Yeah, that's about it, because they're very local. But I'm more of a basketball fan with the Toronto Raptors.
Who's your team?
Toronto Raptors.
Oh, the Raptors. Yeah. Okay. Very good. Very, very good. Well, this has been enlightening, educational. I picked up some things from you today, John. I appreciate you and the work you do. And most importantly, I really appreciate your attitude. You have an amazing approach to life. And that's what we like to celebrate here at the Play Your Position podcast, is people like you who have said yes to yourself and you're committed to showing up and doing your best work. It's amazing. And I wish you all the best as you continue your journey.
Thank you so much, Mary Lou. I was honored to be on your show and look forward to staying connected.
Hey team, Mary Lou here. Who's number one in football changes from year to year. Fashion trends come and go, same with musical tastes. But leadership skills, they never go out of style. In fact, these days, leadership is an essential survival skill for a world that demands more from us than ever before. To succeed these days, you need to know how to show up for yourself so that you can then do the work you love with people you like the way you want. The Play Your Position Leadership Playbook helps you do this, and it's free. Go to pyppodcast.com to download your copy today. If being more successful this year, next year, in the 21st century is on your to-do list, get your copy of the Play Your Position Leadership Playbook now. pyppodcast.com. It's at the top of the page. You can't miss it. That's pyppodcast.com, and start being more of the leader you are meant to be today. This podcast was produced by Daniel Romeros. Show notes for this episode can be found over at pyppodcast.com. I'm Mary Lou Kaiser. Thanks for listening.
Got a great key offensive strategy you like to share? Write to us at coach@pyppodcast.com or on Twitter, use #PYP and let us know how you're running your ball into the end zone for those game-winning touchdowns.